I hit record the second I saw it happen. A thick white envelope sliding into a deputy's coat, while lightning froze the whole beach like a photograph. And I knew right then, this wasn't going to be a neighborly talk over lemonade. This was going to be a fight about lines and truth, and who actually owns what. 10 hours earlier, the brand new HOA president had turned my private dune into a neon circus that stamped a turtle nest flat and carved ruts right up to my deck. By sunrise, there were pink stakes in my yard and a letter calling me a sand hoarder taped to my railing. I told myself one thing as I lowered the camera. Proof beats power if you finish the fight. My name is Mark Ellis. I live on Seabright Cove, a skinny piece of Carolina coast, where storms talk louder than people, and sea oats hold the dune together better than any fence. 15 years ago, my wife Nina and I rebuilt that dune with our hands and a couple of old shovels. We strung a simple rope and posted small signs that said, "Private property, dune restoration. Please respect." My deed puts the line right there. The county survey drove iron rods into the corners. I sleep good because the line is honest. When Pamela Hart moved in up the road, she seemed like the usual HOA climber. Perfect hair, mirrored sunglasses, casual threats in a sing-song tone, mailbox colors, trash can curfews, violation photos, dropped in the Facebook group like trophies, and I ignored it because she didn't govern my lot. Not by the deed, not by the survey, not by anything. But her voice. Then a glossy flyer showed up under my windshield wiper. Seabright Glow Bash, live DJ foam cannons, champagne, and the map had a star planted on my dune, so I carried that flyer to her door, past the lion planters and a glitter flag. And I said, "This dot is my property." She smiled. Without warmth, community needs access. "Mark, your rope is hostile. We have a permit." And she held up a laminated sheet with a clip art seal that said, "Beautification Committee. Approval. Signed by P. Hart." President, and I said, "Let me take a photo for my records." Click, her smile faltered. "Try not to be difficult tomorrow." Door shut. I called county planning. A woman named Janice looked up my parcel and said, "HOA has zero jurisdiction on Ellis. 7B, no permit on file, and coastal work needs. State authorization, my lawyer." Maria fired off a trespass warning by email and certified mail. I set fresh signs every 10 feet, checked camera batteries, told myself this will be annoying, but survivable. At dawn, the trucks came anyway, flatbed with a stage cube vans, burping speakers, and scaffolding a fridge truck that smelled like nightclub leftovers, and the crew stepped over my rope like it was a garden hose and dragged dollies through dune grass. So I walked out. "Morning, fellas. You're on private property, and you're being recorded." The foreman kept his eyes on a clipboard. "We work for Ms. Hart. It's cleared." "It is not cleared," I said, and he grunted and waved them on, and the base tests started vibrating my floorboards. An hour later, a deputy showed up. Young as a rental counter, I handed him the deed. The survey, Maria's email county's reply. He nodded slow, like he was looking for an adult, then Pamela made her entrance down the beach like a debutante. Dress white as a hotel napkin, sunglasses big enough to park a car on. "Officer, thank heavens, this gentleman is harassing my volunteers." She never showed the permit because she didn't need to. She had that smile that promises a complaint or a compliment. Depending on how the day goes, sir. Feels civil to me, the deputy said. Try to work it out, and he left me with trespassers and a shrug. You know what I mean? Sunset brought a black shelf of cloud. The DJ yelled, "Let's get this party started," and a river of people poured over my rope onto wet sand. Whites glowing under UV, little neon stickers on cheeks bass. So deep, my windows hummed Pamela on the mic. Called it our beautiful community beach, pointedly not saying it was mine. I stood on my deck with the camera on a tripod and Nina's hand tight on my arm. "This is insane," she whispered. "For now," I said. "Let her perform. The more witnesses, the better." And the wind chewed at the stage tarp. Someone yelled for more duct tape. Then lightning cracked. The island blinked off. A generator kicked the stage lights back to life, and the crowd panicked in the rain. They ran toward the only high ground, my dune, clawing up ripping sea oats by the handful, sliding and colliding and yelling. My night mode found the rope square where a loggerhead nest sat. Under sand and mesh, and bodies swarmed it. Stakes snapped, sign folded. "Get off the dune! Get back!" I shouted. Lost under the howl. Then a new sound, a jet of foam like a snow machine, and one cannon ignored the outage and poured a white river downwind into the churning crowd and up the face of my dune. People vanished under it for a heartbeat. Reappeared, coated and staggering. The foam crawled like a living thing, buried the nest marker, and kept climbing. And I kept the camera steady, because fear makes my hands quiet. I learned that somewhere back when life was louder. By the time the DJ bailed, and the last drunk stumbled off blue and red, washed over the foam. Not the kid deputy, but an older one, with a weary walk. Pamela met him at the access. Hands carving the air, pointing at sky and ocean, and ruined tent like. God owed her a refund. He turned like he might leave. She touched his sleeve, lowered her voice, and pulled a white envelope from her bag. He glanced left and right, didn't see me or the lens. The envelope disappeared into his coat. A crisp little magic trick in the rain, and yeah, that happened. And as I panned back, I caught another glow near the sea grapes, a hooded kid lowering his phone and jogging away. Morning looked clean, but it wasn't pink. Stakes hammered into corners of a rectangle that swallowed my dune and 20 feet of my yard. A plastic sleeve letter accused me of blocking the community erosion control area and ordered me to remove illegal plantings in 48 hours, or the HOA would do it, and bill me sand hoarding. It said, which would have been funny if it hadn't been taped to my deck. Maria told me, "Do not touch a stake, keep filming." I measured from the real iron rod, compared last week's photo to today's, and saw it had moved not by a storm, but by hands. Which is a crime where I live, not paperwork. I pushed back with quiet things that left marks. 3 motion floods pointed right at the bogus line that turned her crews into startled deer. A drone with a calm robot voice that said, "You are trespassing on private property. Please return to the public access." Pamela swatted at it with a rolled-up agenda, shouting lawyer words into the wind while the drone followed like a very polite mosquito. And then the sprinklers on a timer set to 2 o'clock when she held a beach strategy meeting with catered sandwiches and a whiteboard titled Action Plan. The arcs rolled like glass, soaked the paninis, and washed the blue marker into tears. My camera laughed for me, because I didn't feel like laughing yet. At dawn, a few days later, I heard diesel idling. Where it shouldn't, a small bulldozer nosed the edge of my dune, while a guy in a hard hat took orders from Pamela, who pointed at my sea oats like she was choosing which ones to cut. I walked in front of the blade, dialed 911. Illegal excavation of a protected dune on private property, and then called the state wildlife unit. And the operator looked at the two of us, looked at the dune, killed the engine and said, "I'm out. My company isn't touching this." He left Pamela speechless. And that silence was the first gift I'd gotten all week. The real twist landed in my inbox that night, a one-line email. She's stealing from all of us, with a spreadsheet attached. HOA expenses for 2 years. Thousands paid to Hart Coastal Services LLC for dune studies and coastal engineers, who'd never stepped on our sand. Checked the state registry. And sure enough, Pamela was the only officer I knocked on Treasurer Graham Whitaker's door the next morning, and the quietest man on Seabright led me to a room full of ledgers and bank statements he'd kept. Because lies don't sit right with bookkeepers. Inflated invoices, kickbacks from the landscaping company run by her brother-in-law. Checks cut to the shell company, like clockwork. "I can't do it anymore," he said. "I'll testify." And I felt something shift, like a tide starting to move the right way. Officer Morales from State Wildlife showed up, sunburn on her nose, eyes that missed nothing. She scraped foam into vials, photographed the iron rod and the pink stake. Compared my before and after photos, measured distance herself. Storms don't pull a stake and replant it a foot to the right. "People do that," she said. Pamela wandered over with 2 big guys pretending to be landscapers and called the nests a nuisance. Morales looked up slow and said, "Ma'am, harassing a protected species is a felony, and I strongly suggest you stop talking." One of the guys shoulder-checked me. I gave him a shove back. Morales was on the radio before he hit one knee, and when the older deputy rolled in and saw the tape and the officer's badge, he looked like a man fresh out of rugs to sweep things under. Maria built the case like a seawall. Janice's affidavit for the fake permit. Graham's ledgers, my videos of trespass and bulldozer. Morales' report on endangered species harassment and stake tampering. And then the clean angle from the hooded kid. His name was Noah. 17 and tired of his parents getting dinged for trash bin colors. His video showed the envelope moving in crisp rain light. We handed the package to the DA, and the arrest came quiet the next morning. No cuffs, no parade, but the neighborhood saw. The prosecutor still tried to make it small, with a plea. Improper record keeping a fine step down as president. And I could hear Maria holding her temper when she called. We took it to a hearing. Judge Evans is fair, which is another way of saying tough. The state pitched the deal. Maria asked to play a short video. Lights down. Noah's footage filled the screen. You could hear rain on the microphone. You could watch the envelope disappear. Lights up, the judge blinked. Once looked at the prosecutor and said, "You thought that deserved a misdemeanor plea, rejected bribery. Count added bail. Set at $250,000 and..." Pamela's posture sagged a half-inch, and the line finally felt like a line again. If you want the hammer all the way down. We went to trial. The defense tried to paint me as a crank in love with rope lines and sprinkler timers. I told the jury I was polite until politeness failed, and I kept every move on my side of the line. Janice dismantled the permit. Graham traced the money with a red pen and the patience of a Sunday school teacher. Morales brought lab results and 2 steaks and said storms do one thing, people do another. Noah pressed play, and the room went quiet. Again, the jury didn't take long. Guilty on fraud, guilty on embezzlement, guilty on bribery, guilty on tampering. Pamela stared straight ahead like she was watching a stranger. I didn't cheer. I don't cheer in court. I just felt something unclench like a knot you've carried in your neck for months. So that's my story, and I know some of you are already typing was I petty with the sprinklers, or just defending my line. HOA's necessary, or just a weapon for folks who like being in charge. Should a bribe on camera end a career? Or do we shrug and call it complicated? You know what I mean, drop. Where you're watching from, tell me what part felt right, what part didn't, and if you've ever had someone plant pink stakes in your yard and tell you to move your sand. I want to hear it. Subscribe if you want more of these fights. Not because I like fighting, but because I like proof. And I think a lot of you do too.